Patented metal planes are one of the most fascinating areas of tool collecting. Until the middle of the 19th century, all planes were made of wood. They had a sole shaped in the form of the pattern that the carpenter wished to produce, and their cutter was secured in place with a simple wooden wedge. The use of other materials, particularly cast iron, unleashed a flood of creativity among tool inventors who vied with each other to create new methods to hold and adjust the cutter, to alter the shape of the sole, or to make other changes in the plane. This plane was invented in 1893 by Louis Hardt of Yuba City, California. A lot of patented planes included mechanisms for adjusting the throat of the plane, which is the slot in the sole through which the cutter protrudes. Hardt's idea was to mount the nose of the plane on an inclined surface so that it could be slid up and down. By sliding it, you would be simultaneously opening and closing the throat and also varying the amount of the cutter that was exposed to the wood. This was not a particularly good idea, and these planes are very rare. They are also one of the very few tool patents to come out of the West Coast during the golden age of invention, although obviously in the age of Silicon Valley, California has more than caught up. Birdsill Holly of New York was one of the earliest developers of cast iron planes. This is an example of his very first patent, received in 1852. It's a jointer plane. In addition to having a cast iron body, it features a mechanism in which the cutter is held with an iron bracket secured by a thumb screw. One thing that many inventors tried to do is to see how many different tools could be combined into a single combination device. This gizmo, which was patented by Carroll Thomas of Lincoln, Illinois in 1882, was simultaneously a rabbet plane, a bevel, a tri-square, a marking gauge, and a level. An example of a tool that did many things, none of them particularly well. Plane designers in the 1800s were obsessed with reducing the amount of friction between the plane sole and the wood surface, since many carpenters were convinced that cast iron created more friction than a wooden-soled plane. We have here 4 examples. The first, patented by Rodier of Detroit, Michigan, has these serpentine grooves. We sometimes call these the squiggly planes cast into the sole. Now, Rodier didn't actually describe these grooves in his patent application, so we really have no idea why he thought this would be more efficient than just simple straight grooves, which many other planes at the time had. This plane, which was patented by Ellis Morris of Salem, Ohio, was marketed as the diamond plane for obvious reasons. This is an early version with patent applied for, cast into the heel. Cyrus Hardy of Boston, instead of making changes to the surface of the sole, just said, let's just put a bunch of big holes in the sole. So this is his patent. And finally, William Steers, originally of Quebec, had what may have been the best idea of all. He provided for these rosewood strips to be slotted into the sole of the plane. These are very nice planes, but it must have been pretty difficult and expensive to produce because they're pretty rare. Finally, this is my favorite. The only known example of the 1851 patent of Benjamin Bee of Massachusetts. This very early plane still has a wooden body, but has one of the earliest examples of a cutter adjustment, where this strip here, where the wheel moves the cutter up and down, and this mechanism here locks it into place. Bee probably just used a wooden plane, an ordinary wooden joiner produced by another plane maker, and fitted his cutter adjustment into it. Then he put this pewter plaque on the side with his name. This was very likely just a prototype. There's no indication that it was ever actually marketed.